Okay. So welcome to our second day. In our second day, we want to go now into the details of what is it that we put in our grant proposal. And perhaps some of the important sections that we shall be addressing today is the part called the introduction, and then the second part called the problem statement or the need statement. And probably we shall also find time to come up with what we call our work plan. We have a practical case scenario that I provided in the WhatsApp group, and that is what the case that perhaps we shall use to model up when we are drawing up our case, we are building our case. Okay, so the introduction. So those are some of the content of the coverage of this today. Introduction and background section. What is it that goes into the introduction and background section of our grant proposal? Remember, this is the first part. And how you present it is very important, because definitely the donor will find an appetite of continue reading it, or he may discard it altogether, even if all other sections are so good like what, but if this is not properly addressed, then this is the entry. And because it is the entry place, the entry must be too much captivating. So we want to look at what is it that should go into the introduction that will make the donor to rise curiosity, to have some curiosity of reading it all throughout and finding out perhaps your level of credibility to implement the program you are proposing to do. Okay, so beautiful. So now what should be inside here? The first is, this is section provides overview of your organization requesting the funding. The organization itself, the NGO, the CBO, or the faith-based organization that is seeking for funds, we need to know about them. Yes, we need to know or mention what makes you perhaps stand out. Why do you think you are the best to implement this particular program? Must come out in the introduction section. And that is being addressed by simply highlighting your past accomplishment with the previous projects that you have already implemented. Okay, so that's what will bring forth whether they can be able to trust you with the proposed project. What is the root cause of the problem? Now, we need also to address the problem that we want to solve. Mention, possibly, you need to conclude this particular section by telling us the opportunity available if this particular problem is solved. That is the last part of what we call the introduction. We need to know, if we fund you, what are some of the opportunities in the change of the livelihood for what you call the beneficiaries? Must come out very clear in this particular section. And then they present the problem with a captivating story. You must learn how to be a good storyteller. This is the section where you need to present the problem with a captivating story. Okay, the story must be very simple. Okay, and remember, when you begin presenting the story need to look like the cat. The cat has two parts. We have the head, and then we have the track, and then the tail. So remember, your story must be divided into the three sections. And then now that introduction, that is very much captivating. People like stories. Okay, from the time that when you are young, when you go to your grandfather or grandmother, we normally were going there just for the sake of hearing the stories from the grandmother. The most common story was about some animals that are tricksters, like the hare. We also had beautiful stories of elephant, the stories of tortoise. Those are some of the stories that used to captivate our attention when we were young. Now, when we grow old like this now, we want stories with facts, stories that are going to make us feel attached to the information that you are trying to address. This is the section where you must present your answers, your problem, a proper captivating story to what you call your readers. So these are some of the areas these are some of the things that must go inside to this introduction section of your proposal. Let's continue and look further into what should go. Our goal in this section, when we begin writing the introduction or the background, is to impress the reviewer and retain their interest so that they find a reason to continue reading our script up to the end. If you can succeed that, then you have already succeeded. Definitely, you have put yourself up in terms of consideration for the funding, because you have already made them to feel interested in the kind of information that you are presenting. So the goal for introduction, the goal for this first part, after what we call the summary of the grant proposal. Remember, the summary is being written last, but it comes first because it's only highlighting the key content of what is in this section, subsections like the introduction and etc. So, but now this part, please, we really urge you, please don't interfere with our class, please. Don't interfere with our class. Can you just mute yourself so that we have a well-organized class for others at least? Okay, thank you for doing that, please. Okay, highlight the genesis of the problem in this section of our introduction. When did this problem begin? And then also come up with what you call, what are some of the past interventions? Because perhaps you are not the only one who is seeing this problem for the first time. There are some people who have already tried to solve it. Then bring their names and try to tell us why were they never able to solve this problem to conclusion, the gaps. And those are the gaps that you must tailor-make your piece of script or your strategy on how you are going to address the gaps, so that at least the donor will get convinced that you are credible enough to be entrusted with these particular funds, so that you can be able to implement this project. So this is very, very important. And I really want you that anytime that you are bringing in your introduction, the gap with regard to the proposed project, as you revisit other organizations in your country, even the government, even if it's the local government, is there some attempt of them solving this problem? And why perhaps were they not able to bring this thing to an end? Then now you tell us how you as the organizations, the approach you want to put in place so that at least this matter is concluded at last. So if that can come out, then I will tell you that you're already at the best position to be given that fund. Include some relevant statistics. Yes, we depend so much on statistics. Anytime that we talk about statistics, we talk about numbers. So when we're talking about numbers, you are going to tell us numbers quoted from credible sources, how this particular problem has affected the beneficiaries or the so-called the target group. And when you are giving us numbers, please go ahead to give us numbers in terms of donors are so much interested in assessing what you call the impact of the problem. And their focus is to what extent has this particular problem affected the people we call the vulnerable members of our community. So we want to see how many women are being affected. We want to see how many children are getting affected. We want to see how many what you call elderly are being affected by this particular problem, and how many men are being affected. So please just don't tell us that the people affected with this problem are 2,000. No, you don't need that. Go ahead to break them down in terms of the number so that you can be able to quantify, because at their side, as they will be reading this your part, they will be trying to quantify the magnitude of the problem to the target group. And as they quantify, they write down the number affected. These are the number in terms of women. These are the number in terms of children. These are the number in terms of girls. These are the number in terms of families that are actually poor. These are the number that are affected. That becomes more easy for them at least to make a conclusion whether this is something urgent and require immediate attention so that they can release for you their funds. Remember, at one point at the back of your mind is the concept of, are we able to justify the reason why we are the best to be given these funds to implement this program? That is what is at the baseline. That is what is the common denominator you are trying to communicate to the donors. Okay, so it's very, very important that we know what to put in the introduction at the right time, and even told you how to conclude it. We conclude by indicating that if this fund is released, then these are the following opportunities that are most likely going to be attained. So as you bring it that, it brings in the appetite of your level of research, your comprehensive coverage of this particular matter, and then perhaps the involvement, a thorough research, you even know all the past attempt interventions that have been carried in this, and even the reasons why they were not able to conclude this matter to the end. And then you have gone ahead to illustrate your capability and the strategy's uniqueness, your unique innovation in the approach to handling this matter that will make you be a better off to be able to solve this matter up to the end. Now, remember this, remember, donors are interested to quantify how the problem affects men, how the problem affects women, how the problem affects vulnerable members of the society. So please, when giving out your statistics, ensure that you bring in the percentage of men, percentage of women, percentage of elderly, and percentage of children that this particular problem are affecting in that community. So these components be addressed very well.
Hello, excuse me?
Yes, yes.
Could you please kindly put in the slideshow mode so that at least it's very...
Okay, let me try to bring in
so that we can be more visible.
Yes. Let me resume, and then perhaps I put it like that, and then I see. Let me remove this one. Okay, I think now it is in the way you wanted it, isn't it? Now it is better. But only that.
Yeah, it's okay, Mwalimu.
Okay, so let's proceed now. Let's proceed now. You also need to mention the historical development.
Kindly go back to the last slide.
This one.
Yeah, remember, please to remember.
Yeah, remember, donors are interested to quantify how the problem has affected men, how the problem has affected women, how the problem has affected all the vulnerable members of the society. We want to look at, is this problem also affecting the elderly members of our society? Is it also affecting the children? Yeah, and to what extent? That must be able to come out, because remember, at the back, they want to see implement a program that's going to address, bring at least solution to the vulnerable members in our community. So it must come out very, very clear that when these funds is released, then we are going to save life of a girl child. We are going to save life of the following number of women. And when a woman life has been saved, then the multiplier effect on to what you call the upbringing of children is going to be of this magnitude. We want to see that element are the things that needs to be quantified at that particular level. And remember, we are saying that as we conclude our introduction, we cannot forget to bring in the opportunities that this funding will bring forth, if at all it is released. So they are going to be convinced by that particular strong statement that will bring forth there. And remember, you are also inbuilt into, when we are bringing in the genesis of this particular problem, we built a very strong story, a very captivating story, very much interesting. Anyone reading this particular piece of writing will never ignore it. And remember, at the long last, we are also going to take our what you have written to our graphic designer, so that our logos are clearly put in our proposal and is really captivating. So it cannot be ignored. They will take their time to read the entire of the subsections of each and every section of our grant proposal. But if this section is compromised, not clearly indicating your competence to handle these programs is not clearly mentioned, and things are not in order, then definitely they read this, that's going perhaps to be the end of you. So because remember, applications are so many, so they are looking for at least where they are convinced. You are convincing. That's why we are saying that this is a CV to the organization that is requesting for fund, curriculum vitae. So it is, you must be able to present it in a manner convincing the donor that you are the right candidate to implement this particular program, and it is this particular section. And even, for instance, when we are going ahead, we are going to realize that even other accomplishments, like for instance, if you have been awarded some of the awards, You must be able to mention them here. If you have been already, all those people who funded you, previous project that you have done, you must mention them with their names, and even to extend or even giving their contacts for what you call verification purposes. You must be able to be very much open. And this, if they don't know even your sites, your social media sites where you upload your projects that you do, then it is these sections where you must be able to tell them clearly all your social media sites so that they can look and check properly what you have accomplished over the past. Yes, because we are trying to justify our credibility. We are trying to justify our integrity. And this is the section to be assessed on those bases. When they award marks under this, the credibility section is very key. So that's why it must come out very clear that you are the right candidate for this particular proposed project to be implemented safely. When this money is released, the money is safe. Since it is not only you seeing, like, look at that, that's what I was trying to talk about this. It's not only you seeing the problem, please. You must be able to mention the past intervention measures, develop strategies which will result to sustainable solution. This is very key. Is the solutions you are proposing feasible? And perhaps, are they going to lead to what you call sustainable solutions? If that can be established, yes, for this your particular proposal. If you have received some awards, past accomplishments, add to your overall credibility. If possible, even you can take some of the photos and you put in the nexus. There's no problem for that because we have a section where we are going to attach elements of verification. So we might be able to attach those ones under what we call our nexus. So now we almost moved. It's also good practice to hint that you have explored other options of funding. Why is this important? Now, remember, the donors are interested to know your level of sustainability. Now, is it that if they fund you and perhaps you are an organization that is capable of raising funds from the local level to international in a good way, because they will be more interested in knowing that this particular project is going to be funded by these organizations and this one. So it simply means they are only coming to be partners. So they will collaborate together. They feel more safe in such an environment of setup. So telling them that there is also some ongoing things that are giving you funds to be able to continue implementing it is something that is very, very good. Unlike a situation whereby the project is going only to depend on them alone, and no one, any other organization is interested in you, in even funding you. Even you don't have any past history justifying organizations that have already given you funds. Any organization that has given you fund within the donor community, they must call. They will do what you call references. So they normally call. So that's why this is an open page, an environment of open page. There's nothing that you're going to hide. And anything of exaggerating, please avoid as much as possible. Going to compromise you a lot in terms of your level of credibility. Don't exaggerate. Provide facts the way they are. And evidences to support, like the areas where we have to support. These sections, we do what we call statistical support, putting relevant, credible sources to be able to justify those our statistics. Showcase the past projects similar to the one that you are proposing. They are the ones that we now, you may have done several projects, yes, that's good. But then, are there ones that are almost similar to this? Because we are looking for what to call experience. And this is where we're going to get it. How will the collaboration and your partners and all your collaborators must also come in? They must be mentioned in this particular section because you are a credible organization, and therefore other NGOs have approved you to be good, even in the way you are reporting, your accomplishment, project implementation, and even evaluations, everything they have already said okay. So this new NGO will rely so much on getting feedback from the people who have funded you, so that at least they can also say that they are a good organizations and they can trust you with their money. Okay, so needs statement. So that is the introduction. So the introduction, those are the key highlights of how the introduction needs to be. But the conclusion, the introduction you have said, highlight the opportunities that will be availed if the funds are given. So good. So I will just move to what you call the needs statement before I open up for what you call elements of we have to be able to discuss. So needs statement, this is the main part. It is the main part because it's like the rationale why we are going to request for funds. Without a problem or without any need, then therefore we don't need any justification why we are requesting for the donor support. So this becomes one of the most critical sections that everyone will read through. Okay. Now, it is this section that will give us our objectives. So this section needs to be approached through what you call participatory approach. You will invite the beneficiary, the key stakeholders who is who in that particular setup, and then you sit down together, possibly a focus group discussion of 10 to 12 members will be ideal to map out the problem. When we are mapping out the problems, we will be able to look at the cause-effect relationship that I talked about yesterday, and we are very much specific to identify what exactly are the main causes of this problem. Yeah, because remember, when you want to solve something, you definitely go to the causes. Yeah? You go to the causes of the problem. So when you go to the causes of the problem, you can be able now to attach your solutions based on those causes, so that the causes which were negative can now be transformed to be a positive statements. I don't know where our slide is moving slightly faster than the way I want it to move. Let me try. Okay, I think this may be the second part. Let me try to see. Okay.
Oh, Peter, there is a question. Do we take questions on this section at the end of the presentation?
Yes, at the end of this presentation, just write them down here so that I will be addressing them as immediately I'm through with the content of the presentation.
Okay.
Now, this is the main problem the proposal seeks to solve. If the request is approved, your needs statement should be in line with the RFP and perhaps the NOFA. NOFA is mainly for what you call foundations. They normally in their websites, if you check their websites, you'll find the notice of funds availability. It's not there for a very long time. So sometimes it's even 2 months or 3 months, they put it there. And after that, when you try to apply, they tell you that it has expired. So you must be monitoring your targeted donors, especially when they are foundation, on various times when they upload their NOFA, so that you can make application on the same. And even before that, your networking or relationship management will assist you. They will be the one notifying you in the email that we have the following funds for this particular month of July and August, so that you can make a concept or you can make a proposal and forward to them. That is the power of what we call a relationship. And that's the current emerging, very strong, powerful tool of fundraising. Build a strong relationship with your donors, prospective donors, okay? So that they are the ones to notify you. And you have a list of areas of your specialization. The people you are pursuing the similar objectives, can you have a list of all those NGOs? And then you can build. And that's why if this power of networking in the NGO, there's a lot of power of networking. And once you are in the NGO field, you must be able to be visiting these meetings and conferences of other NGOs in your country so that you can be able to exchange notes. You can be able to exchange the diaries. You will also get from what you call the NGO controlling board, the diary of various donors in regard to what you call children protection, regard to what you call poverty alleviation, regard to what you call HIV/AIDS. You network within that particular scope. And locally, you network for what you call strengthening your capacity. Like, for instance, you may be interested in carrying out what you call a local fundraising schedule, like even sports event, then in a particular area of, yes, raising funds for buying even some equipment for cancer. Now, the people who are involved championing cancer awareness and cancer reduction, you have them at what you call what you will receive from your NGO controlling board locally, so that now you network and you share, you invite them for the function that you're having, they will readily come because they also want to be noticed in those particular environments that you're working as one unit. Okay, so now, once this is done, that you have got this, when you are writing these problem statements, it must properly align with a request for proposal or the notice for funds availability, okay, guidelines. So now, how should it be written? So how it should be written is based on this particular 5 W's. There are 4 or 5. Yes, there are 5 W's. These 5 W's are the guiding principles of writing a perfect need statement. So the first is what? What is it that we want to address? So it simply means when we begin writing need statement or problem statement, we begin by highlighting the core of the problem. That's the first statement of your first paragraph, is that is the statement, well quantified. And because we are talking about SMART, and then you must be able to give proper reference, credible report, like this one I'm talking about, UNICEF report of 2022. It simply means they can be able to rely, because now this is children affair, and UNICEF is involved in children. And therefore, when we quote an organization that is specializing in children, it brings some level of trust in the content of what we are trying to present there. So we are saying 18% of teenagers, girls aged 13 to 17 each year are pregnant in village X, okay, or in country X. Then we have already quoted that. Okay, that's our starting point. What is, if it is poverty, it is the what here. And the what is the main core of the problem. It must come out at the first statement when you are going to write this. So remember, this kind of information, before we can be able to come sit down and write, we have already done what we call the focus group discussion, where we are doing what we call needs analysis, and we have perhaps done what we call the problem analysis. You have realized how the magnitude of this problem and even the main causes of this problem, and likely the effects, if we do nothing, what may result. So look at this. The first is what, then next is where. We must describe the target group now. That is the description of the target, properly capture the target group well. Now, in this case, all schools going girls age 12 to 17 years, both primary schools and secondary schools, because that is where they are being found. There are the people who are affected by this particular problem. Then we go to the statement of why are they affected. So the reason of why, the donor is interested in knowing the cause. So we bring in the impact of social media. There is element of drug abuse. There is failure in parental upbringing. Remember, what we are talking about are all problems. Now, this is a negative use of social media. Now, increased drug abuse of our young girls and boys in schools. Then now we talk about some problem with what you call our parental upbringing, which has changed so much because majority of families are actually, they are lacking what you call that model to copy. Children are lacking those best people to be able to copy in terms of characters. Now, as we talk about these causes, already our mind is running into how are we going to develop the solution? Because remember, the solutions are attached to these problems. If there is a misuse of media, then what can we do at least to rectify that? Then there must be a problem on this media and what you call the televisions and etc. We can group them together. And then if it is an issue of going to make laws, pass laws in our parliament that strengthen the use of what we call social media. At the same time, what the content to be aired live, then it is going to be a solution on that. If it is drug abuse, then what is our approach as schools? Can schools be declared as, why is this drug abuse rampant in our schools? That must be investigation of the same, so that we are going to attack that to be able to develop how to solve this by the main cause of that drug abuse in our schools. Failure in parental upbringing, it will come up with what we call the parental education program that we need to develop now. We need to have a lot of campaign on what we expect of parental role in bringing in a whole human being that can be able to be very responsible. Any problem that we have here is going to be transformed to be part of our objectives. So we shall attach our discourses. This is where we are going to get the objectives. Here there are problems. Actually, it's supposed to be mentioned in terms of the problem. If this is social media, then at least there is elements of carelessness in the use of social media. And therefore, the objectives will be at least now to reform the use of social media so that children may be bad or even completely from using it. If it's not bad, then responsible use. We are being trained on how to do that. And who are the people who want to solve this? So that is who. Who are now the group that have partners together to bring this matter to an end? All your partners need to be mentioned here, because it's not only you. We try to work in like a union in the field of social development. We work as a group. Must have partners, very close partners. So please mention them that you are going to do it together as a group, if possible. Okay. So now, then the last statement here, been blocked here, but yes, how? How will we be able to bring solution to this? We need resources to train peer educators who will be able perhaps to be able to train. We open up what we call school clubs program. And these school club programs, we shall be able to fund them. We shall be able to support them. And you mentioned how the school program will be strengthened through this your program, so that at least girls are aware, if they are trained to say no to early sex before perhaps marriage, or if at all they have to have sex, then it must be a responsible sex where they use what you call condoms and etc. if possible, because that is an option that you will be, as an NGO, will provide for the children, just to be able to press down the rate of having children that they have not planned for. Okay, so we clearly explain how we shall intervene to solve this matter to come to an end. And that becomes the standard practice of writing our needs statement. So I will continue highlighting this because this is just a summary based on what you call the 5 W's concept. But I will be able at least to continue highlighting inside. There has been, like this, like an example of what perhaps the case that I've given out. There has been persistent increase in teenage pregnancies among school-going teenagers in Kenya for the last 5 years. I'm trying to quantify. That is the main problem that we want to solve out. So it must come in the first, as your first statement. Let your donors not be looking for the problem. Like most of the students, when we go for defense, you realize that if you look at their problem statements in their research, you may read the entire problem statement and you don't find any problem, because he will try to convince you that perhaps it is in the middle or perhaps it is in the end of the statement. The best practice is to bring it at the first statement. That's where the core of the problem must be highlighted there. Now, once you highlight that problem, there is second part is justification of that particular problem. And we have several ways of means of doing justification. I may have not done this because I only quoted the units as a record, but since it is a 5 years plan, you can even be able to present for us data for the first year. And then if you find a data that with a consistent increase, that is even the best. So you can have even a bar graph, you present with the bar graph, somebody is knowing that this is what happened in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. These have been the trend. So they can be able to see one by one. We need to see that. And you put the source of that particular graph that you have used. Very beautiful, fully presented. That's one scenario. So if it is an issue of increased crime rate in a town, then the best data is the police records in the nearby nearby town. So the police will be able to give us their records, and we quote that, and we provide that this particular year it was this level, this year it is increasing. So they can be able to see it very clearly on that basis. So we do what we call quotation. What about a case whereby we are dealing with an situation whereby we don't have anything to quote? There might be some scenario like that. Yes. If we may be faced with that, then we need to do our own data. We need to go and collect our own data. Put those people in the focus group discussion. Let them discuss as you record what they say, how that particular problem has affected their livelihood. From the time they started experiencing that problem, how they have been coping up with that problem is very, very important when you go to do such focus group discussion. How have you been coping up with them? And why is it that your method of coping up have not succeeded in eradicating this particular problem? We try to ask them and they respond. As we take videos, we shall upload those particular videos and we provide the link to the donor so that they can also watch that particular kind of conversation. And even if that is not enough, please, you can go to your local administration and get a letter, just quantifying the magnitude of how that problem has affected the target group. All that can be collected together and we put under annexes in our grant proposal to be able to justify that we are not creating the problems for oneself. This is something that has been affecting the people themselves are saying it, and perhaps the local administrations we shall also interview them and especially the intervention they have done and how they have remained to be unsuccessful because of the magnitude by which that problem has infiltrated into the target group. So we are getting it from the people direct, and that's why this is a participatory approach, a participatory thing. It is not one-man project to sit down in the office and generate a grant proposal. It will not work for you. But if you bring it like it is a business of a group, the people we are writing to solve their problem are deeply involved here. It brings some appetite of being able to listen to you very well. Because we said last time that at anything we do, the element of credibility must be enhanced. So it is not us, it is them. The solutions we are bringing forth actually originated from them. They are the ones who proposed. And they even told us how they have coped with the same problem and they have never succeeded. And even the reasons why they have never succeeded, they have highlighted. And they will be able to also to see and listen to those particular kind of statement. So this particular part, yes, this is the way by which we, it's like just a marking scheme, where what to say first, what to say, and everything you tell us, justify. This particular part requires a lot of justification. This is not a matter of now writing stories and then leaving it like that. No, not with the problem statement. Otherwise, it is your own creation. Without proper justification for the problem statements, it will earn you the least marks possible. And definitely your proposal will end up being not even considered further because you don't have a problem in the first place, you created it. So can we be more engaging in the way we are writing new approach to proposal development? We need to be more engaging with all the team that are doing the proposals write-up and also the people we want to change their life. Okay, and our what you call the pathway to change must be clearly be established. When they are reading our stories, they are able to see why these funds we shall do A, B, C, D, and when A, B, C, D is done, this is what we shall get. Good for that. Let me just continue. We require sources to train. We require resources to train peer educators. We require resources to distribute learning materials in schools, sensitize the schools clubs on reproductive health, open several child-friendly counseling centers in our school dispensaries. We are mentioning what we are going to, remember the funds we are requesting is to do activity A, activity B, activity C, activity D. Those particular activities are what are going to be projected to our work plan. And as we go to every activity, we shall expand it further in analyzing what is going to be done. How shall we be able to relate the resource, the human labor, balancing the resource and the human labor. We must be able to schedule the two so that we can be able to do what? We can be able to implement that what we are proposing. If it is issue of sensitizing the club, how will you be able to do it? Clearly explained. So we are requesting the input so that we do activities. And if activities are done, these activities are going to yield the following output. So 1,000 boys will be trained. Girls will be trained. We must be able to talk about specific outputs. We must be able to talk about specific output. And those outputs will result to our outcomes. And the outcomes will result to our overall impact in the society that we want to see in the next 5 years. So that pathway must be clearly established in our grant proposal, because it brings the justification that we clearly understand the project framework and how the implementations needs to be done, and we are able to tell them what we shall get in every step. That's good. So let's move further. Back up your problem statement with sufficient evidence. Everything you claim must be properly justified. If you cannot justify, please can you remove it, so that it does not dilute the entire problem statement. Give the trend, if possible, the number of school-going age who have been pregnant for the last 5 years. Give that data each and every year, and let us see the trend. If possible, you can even use the line graph, to just explain the trend for the last 5 years, how it has been. The trend of even the girls that during, because they are young, most of them even end up dying during what we call giving birth. How many have even died during giving birth? And then we are trying to bring forth the intensity of how this problem is so serious and needs attention of this donor, so that we can put an end to this matter. We are in the 21st century, and perhaps everything we can be able to sit down and provide solution to it. And that's why the key players in the education sectors have come together to write this proposal. We have seen, like, for instance, in our country, we have the Teacher Service Commission is one of the players of this proposal. We see what we call the parent associations, the association of parents. They are also part of this. We are also seeing the Ministry of Education are also part of these players. So remember, when we mention such key players who are implementing the program, definitely we are enhancing what we call the level of trust and credibility they are going to give to this particular piece of writings that we are doing. And that's why at all costs, try as much as possible, even if at all it is you, but try as much as possible that you have collaborators, you have other partners that are also critical players and will support you in the implementation process, just for enhanced synergy, just for a capacity, strengthening capacity by simply bringing different organizations together so that you can be able to solve this. Okay, the trend of teenagers affected by AIDS, those are things that we need to bring forth. Anything that the problem that we are addressing, let's try if you can be able to establish what we call the trend. Good. So at least to that particular extent, I may be able to say we have already known exactly what goes in here into introduction and into this most important part. This part is normally not very many marks, but it's 10 marks. Most of the from 10 to 15. They only awarded 10 to 15. But this is very key. So this what they are looking for. When they are going to add you are going to get 8. What will make you get 8 or get 9 or get 7? Yeah. Have you captured all the integrity of this section, the 5 W's, and how have you presenting them? What about your evidence? Can they be trusted? Because that is the first thing to be. Don't quote, perhaps, like for instance, when you are quoting what you call national census that was done, then you're quoting the one that was done almost the last 20 years. No. Latest, as much as possible. The latest one is the one that you're going to quote for us. The recent, and if not, please go on the ground to collect data and bring for us that real data that is right now. And remember, when you are in the NGO, there's a lot of use of what we call focus group discussion. And that's why I normally emphasize on the guys in the NGO field that please don't ignore qualitative analysis methods of your data. That is very key, because our main method of interacting with those locals, some have not even gone to school, but they can speak. We can even translate what they're telling us into our languages that we understand. They speak in local language, we translate, and then we can be able to do what? Present. Or we code, like right now, the human as translator. As they speak, we translate direct to language that can be understood. So this is the thing, that this is the section that the two sections that are do and die. Well written, you got money. Compromised, no. Then after this, the most important section with the highest marks is now the project narrative. When we start now developing what we call the solution for this particular problem, there at least it has a very great marks. It's being subdivided into different sections, like the work plan is going to be there, formulations of what we call those objectives are going to be there. And generally it is like the work plan. We move direct to the work plan and how we will be able at least to solve this particular problem there. That's now the next section that we will be going to. But before I move there, at least I need to open up so that we can have some interaction on these particular two sections. And you can be able to tell us your experiences, because most of you have also experience in this field. So we can have some elements of exchange when it comes to introducing your organization and what the problem is, and then problem statement. Yes. Can we have that? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Let me try first to stop recording so that I will resume later, so that we may not have a very long video.